Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Melbourne, Australia. We currently conduct these streams mainly on Wednesday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website at MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Welcome to NAT Chat. My name is Paul Spanos, and today with us we have again Harry Malos, who is consulting counselor. And today's topic we're going to discuss is about emotion-focused therapy.
Thank you.
Can you, Harry, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
Great
you
to
for
be back.
coming back. And do you mind if you just start just explaining to us what is that method?
Yep. EFT, as the word suggests, or the abbreviation, is emotion-focused therapy, and it was developed, I guess, in the early 70s by psychologists Greenberg, Rice, and Elliott, and they formulated a therapy based on the process of evoking emotions that have been neglected, perhaps, or denied, or suppressed, and that's how it began. That emotions have an intelligence and a story to tell. They give us an indication of where the client is and how he has processed experiences, traumas, depression, anxiety, and so on.
Okay, that means with certain questions you are able to dig out or to bring to the surface.
Yes. Yes.
Forgotten emotions that we have in the past.
Yes, and that works really, really well in, as we call it, in the here and now. It's what comes in the interview session that has an evocative approach of bringing out emotions that have been experienced in the past.
That means there is an event that happens today, and I have a certain sort of reactions, just a bit. I could be upset, I could be stressed, or could be something in that area.
Yep.
And I'm seeking counselling in order to find out where this comes from.
Sure. Yeah. EFT is not too much concerned about the content of the experience, but it comes out on the session, on the interview. It comes out, an emotion that has been denied comes out in the interview itself through evoking the sensations and the emotions that are present in that experience itself of the interview.
That means if I come with a stressful mind or anxiety, you're not really focus on the events that cause the anxiety, but you focus on when this anxiety happened before, or how this link into my past as an emotion rather than as an event. The event has significance, but more significance about the event is how you felt about the experience more than the event. Yes. If that was a productive emotional experience, or whether it was malproductive, in other words, wasn't productive. That means different events can produce the same emotions. Anxiety.
Yes, exactly.
And how this. And for me, discovering that emotion, what that brings to me is I try to explain to myself how the anxiety comes from.
Well, it's anxiety is probably a state of fear, and it's driven by fear. So the emotional experience in the interview would be fear would come out in the interview itself. Fear would come out as that emotion that has not been expressed.
Okay.
And that's done during the interview. But in order for that to happen, there has to be a very, very good and healthy working alliance between client and therapist. Otherwise, it can be easily passed or afraid for people to get there, for clients to get there. You have to have a really good working relationship with the client in order to bring that out.
Even though it sounds simple, but I'm not sure how easy is it to bring to the surface that emotional state. Is it relatively easy? People express themselves into their emotions and easy identify with this method?
Yes, look, emotions, there are only primary emotions, there are only 5 or 6, one can argue, and they're very, very basic primary emotions. That's why the word is referred to as primary emotions.
Okay, what are those ones for the audience?
The primary emotions are sad, glad, fear, anger, shame.
Yes, and that comes as an obvious emotions as well, isn't it?
There are primary emotions.
Yeah, they're primary emotions. Yeah, okay.
But they're well hidden and often explained in a secondary reference.
And during the session, really, what is happening is I try to discover how those emotions surface in my character, isn't it?
In your experience of an event, right? In the experience of an event, it's a moment-to-moment unfolding of that experience.
Okay.
That's why I say it comes out in the present.
And does it help in traumatic situations? And how this method is used more effectively? Is there any specific situations, or generically applies to everybody?
Well, it's generically to all painful events, to all areas of life and experiences that have not been dealt with, that have been, as I said, suppressed. So it is generic. It does deal with trauma. It does deal with depression and anxiety, for example, and it's getting. Its premise is that our emotions have intelligence. They are there to tell us something. There's an experience that they've had where they have had a positive reaction or a negative reaction.
Okay. That means the story you discovered during the session is really what brings that emotion into my life.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
When I have fears and suppressed or something.
Yes, it's exactly right.
Yes.
The EFT, emotion-focused therapy, can be used as a bridge between what has happened in our emotions and what is happening in our cognition.
Okay. Harry, thank you. We're going to come back shortly. Thank you for staying with us. Shortly, we'll be back.
I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at 27.
I was 46.
I was 62.
The first symptom I noticed
Was loss of balance.
Was that I was always tired.
was a loss of smell.
The most difficult thing for me is not to be able to travel in my retirement.
The most difficult thing for me was giving up a career that I loved.
The hardest thing for my mum was being pregnant with me.
Here are some brilliant news for adults who have difficulties with spelling, reading a newspaper or phone bill, or writing letters and emails. It can be easier to improve your reading and writing skills than to keep putting it off. Take the plunge. Call the Reading Writing Hotline, 1300 65506.
1300 65506.
It could change your life.
So how have things been going?
When a young person is diagnosed with cancer, it affects their family, their friends, their entire world. Red Kite supports young people with cancer and those around them in real ways.
Yeah, hi, it's Michael. Yeah, I'm at the hospital.
We rely on your generosity to make a positive difference in the lives of thousands of families every year. We can't always make things better. But with your help, we can lighten the load.
Welcome back. And with Harry, we're going to continue the discussion about emotions-focused therapy. And we were talking about the suppression of the emotions.
Right.
Now, let's discuss some incidents that how this happened in our life in a natural way. I was thinking, and you're telling me if I'm right, I'm a manager in a company. I have to perform. I have to dress well. I have to be sharp and in what I'm saying, and manage my project. And the last thing I'm thinking at the moment is my emotional state. But it is there, isn't it?
Yes, it exists. Yes,
it exists, isn't it? But that, and then based on a discussion we had before, those emotions that we keep pressing them, personal emotions, we keep pressing them somehow. At some point of time, they can cause an outburst.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Exactly, yes. When we facilitate an experience between therapist and client, when we facilitate an experience, we bring meaning to those emotions that are either hidden. We become aware of why we feel the way we feel.
Okay.
And by bringing meaning to them, they are significant in someone's life.
Okay. So as an everyday person, somehow it helps me, based on this therapy, it helps me to unpack this pressure.
Yes, of course. Whether they're negative emotions or positive emotions, the fact that it brings meaning, if there is a positive emotion and you understand that that is a productive, meaningful, emotional experience that you've had, that gives you a meaning in life of what your makeup is about.
But usually those pressure emotions are painful, aren't they?
Yeah, yes, they can be. They're the ones that usually are avoided. They're the ones we try and bottle up. We don't want to go there because usually they're negative emotions. But as we say, even negative emotions, mostly negative emotions, need to come out. They need to be expressed. They need to have a meaning of what your life is about.
But we're talking about emotion-focused therapy. Why is it called emotions? That means it deals only with the emotional state?
Not just emotions. EFT uses many other therapies as well in order to process the experience. Emotions, of course, is the primary example, but it does use other body senses. For example, the body also has senses that we evoke during the process of the interview. The body itself can tell us a little bit about a person's experience because it stores it. It has a memory of it.
Talking about the body, you're talking about the physical.
That
means my emotions has a physical effect.
Absolutely. The EFT is not just focused only on emotions. It acknowledges that there is the mind, the body, and your emotions working together. All those three aspects of a person's anatomy talk different languages, but they all point to the same story.
But that pressure really can affect my physical.
Yes, absolutely. For example,
can produce pain, for example.
Yes.
Can you give us an example of that for the audience?
That might be good. If you're a hard worker and you're putting a lot of hours of work, and your body starts to tire out, starts to say to you, excuse me, Paul, I'm really fed up here, I'm really overworked here, and there's a build-up of pressure in your shoulders. It comes out like a stinging sensation through your eyes, or a weight that you're carrying in your shoulders, saying that you're working too hard, that you need to listen to your body, you need to hear what it has to say.
Okay.
So just like the emotional state where we don't acknowledge, the body has a way of telling us as well that it's fed up.
But that pain, as you said, or the eye effect, we're talking about because of my emotions. I have this effect in my body, not necessarily because of my hard work.
No, what we're saying is that your emotions are something that
trigger
that has to be experienced in order to know what they mean. Okay. Okay. The body also has an experience.
Okay.
And the way it speaks is different to the emotions.
Okay.
The emotions are, as we said, sad, glad, fear, anger.
Yeah. But the degree of them, they really you somehow you combine them to the physical effect as well.
Yes, of course. Of course.
You're looking for physical effect for that pressure cooker.
Yes, and you have a point when you say that our emotions affect our body and our body affects our emotions. Yes. For example, a hard worker would eventually have some effect on his emotions.
Okay, all right. And events like traumas, are they part of it as well? This method is used for traumas as well, when you lose your siblings, for example, or accidents in the family, or things that shock.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've had an experience in the past where something tragic, something traumatic had occurred, and there is a emotion attached to that experience,
yes,
and you hold on to it, it has an effect on you, and it grows, and as it grows, we take it back and bring meaning to it. Where did it come from? What was the experience, and what was the meaningful purpose of that experience? What did it mean to you? And that emotion is evoked. Okay. That emotion comes out.
That means when we say grows, takes more space within me, isn't it? Into my emotional state.
Well, it has an effect on your behaviour.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very interesting on this point, and we're going to continue on the third segment. Thank you for staying with us. Shortly we'll be back.
Most of us experience life's ups and downs, but we can always appreciate the finer details that make life worth living. But for 1 in 5 of us, mental illness can make us lose sight of the big picture. That's when Paran Mission can lend a helping hand. We've been caring for the community for over 60 years, finding a place for people with no place. Show your support and stand up for mental illness. Visit our website and make a donation today.
Joy, well-being, community, inclusion.
Special Olympics is a global movement for people with an intellectual disability, creating a world of inclusion and community through sport, where every person is accepted and welcomed, regardless of ability. One athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time, helping to make the world a better place. Join the inclusion revolution by supporting Special Olympics.
And choose to include.
It's easy for things to go wrong around water. More so if you can't swim.
It's great seeing kids confident in the water and enjoying themselves. An important part of keeping kids safer around water is learning to swim.
There are over 600 registered swimming schools that run the Australian Unity Learn to Swim program. To find one, go to the Swim Australia website.
Show Me The Way creates the first social networking sites for Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. With secure online mentoring, Show Me The Way supports students to complete their schooling and continue to TAFE, university or vocational education. Show Me The Way connects students with e-mentors from corporate Australia. With secure online mentoring, Show Me The Way supports students to complete Year 12. To donate, visit showmetheway.org.au.
Welcome back to our program, and we continue with Harry about the emotion-focused therapy. we're talking about emotions before and the pressure, how we do it naturally in our lives, and how big is the impact of not dealing with that, and with that pressure, with is it okay? How we can say the consequences?
Yep, it's a good question. I guess that's why you'd probably go and see a counsellor or someone, is when you have symptoms like not being able to sleep, not being able to work, not being able to face the world socially, loss of desire to eat. All these sort of things are affecting normal everyday life. And emotion-focused therapy is a process, as I said, of an experience. And it for example, I think a good explanation would be an example. If, as one of your experiences, you witnessed someone close to you who was very ill, or in fact has even passed away, and there's an emotion attached to that of sadness, obviously. You're very sad for that person. But that emotion of sadness is not expressed. Okay. You don't understand it. It doesn't have any meaning. So in time, that emotion that has been hidden and unprocessed, that hasn't come out, its desire is to come out. So it may come out in frustration and anger. Yes. And all of a sudden you're angry and you're frustrated and you're abrupt with people and you're short-tempered with people. Yet you'd say, well, what has my short-temperedness got to do with a family friend or a loved one that has been seriously ill? And EFT premises that unresolved emotion of sadness has not come out.
And in this case, you might be upset because you think that that person very, very close to me even passed away, as you mentioned. I might be upset because I think that he left me alone. Isn't it? Might be even upset feelings about it, isn't it? Well, or unexplained sort of results in my emotions.
It could be. If it's unexplained, it has no meaning on you, to you, and our emotions, our cognition, and also our body senses want to have validation. They want to know, they want to be experienced, they want to come out. And if we suppress them, often they come out in a language that we don't understand.
So, when I see myself behaving at some point of time in an irrational way that I have never been before, possibly that's a good trigger to deal with, even with my emotions, isn't it?
Well, that's a good time to say, is my behaviour and my experience, is it productive? Is it helping me?
Yes.
Or is it not? Is it unproductive?
So sooner I deal with my emotional state, and especially when my behavior changes in a dramatic way.
Yes.
And as you said, I cannot sleep at night, I cannot eat well as before, whatever it is. I've noticed some things not as normal as to my normality. So it's a good trigger for me to think about.
Even if you cannot put the entire story together, EFT is not too concerned about the whole content of the story, but more is inclined to concentrate on the process of the story, or what does that mean to you, and what kind of emotions that brings out.
And that helps me to sort of explain to me my own state.
That's right,
isn't it?
Yes.
So it is more controllable after that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That is really interesting topic, and thank you for bringing today with us. Can I shift the topic, because currently we do have, I would like to shift the topic in our community TV. And you've been with us for the last few months during 2014, and we thank you for that. I think it is very good value for the audience. But at the same time, I'd like to give your opinion about Community TV. You've been involved with different programs. You interview people as well. What is your perception or the value of it?
Oh, well, it's a great opportunity. As I said, community television is an important tool that reaches out for even marginalised communities, people who haven't got a voice, for topics that are not covered by commercial television. It has enormous benefit to the community and to the kind of work I do.
From your own feedback from the people about the Community TV, to your experience and the people you have interviewed yourself, what is your impression about the Community TV?
Well, it would be a great loss. It would be a huge loss if that was were to cease.
Okay.
And we're talking about emotions earlier, and I would be sad to see it cease.
Okay. Because the government at the moment is a bit of an argument there, and they want us to pretty much go through the internet only, and there is a bit of a concern because we lose that local content and local support to local viewers, especially free to air. If it was your suggestion in a sort of friendly way, I suppose, what would that be to those who do govern?
Well, that it is very productive. That they should consider it in many terms, even in the term that they think will be beneficial, which is financial. Okay, let's talk about finance, for example. They believe, I'm sensing, that they believe that this channel could be used more profitably. But they forget to examine that it has a huge purpose in the community, and it has the provisions of giving benefit for mental disorder and all sorts of other disorders that would otherwise have to pay for, which would be by the government.
Exactly.
So what they're trying to do in order to make money, on one hand, would be self-defeating, because they'd have to spend a lot of money to actually help people who eventually will need it.
That's right. So it is a saving cost money from the government to having the community active and express themselves to the benefit of the community.
Yes. An example, I always like to work in examples, is the government makes a lot of money out of taxes for cigarettes. Right? Yet they have a big promotion to stop cigarettes because they're spending more money to cure people from smoking than what they are making out of taxes for cigarettes. It's the same
analogy. Thank you very much, Harry, for being with us. Definitely we're going to see you again, and hopefully the Community TV will continue. To the audience, thank you for being with us again, and we're going to see you next week, same time.
Well, sorry about the mistake there. As you can probably gather, I'm actually going live at the moment because we've had a few technical problems causing a few issues tonight. So this is absolutely live at the moment. So better late than never. Welcome to transmission number 26 for the 15th of August 2018. And we're about to go into a second episode of NAT Chat. This is a repeat episode of NAT Chat Migration Stories with Richard Micallef, which we're going to be repeating for the next 10 weeks in the 8:30 time slot. So enjoy that, and hopefully I'll be back a little bit less flustered a little bit later on in the night.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Welcome to Migration Stories, produced for NAT Chat by Northern Access TV here in Melbourne's northern suburbs. I'm Richard Micallef, and my guest today is Noriko Tadano. Hello, Noriko.
Hello.
You're from Japan originally.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thank you for migrating to Australia.
Thank you for having me.
And enriching us. How is it that you did migrate to Australia? What was the circumstances for your decision?
Well, I was working at the company for over 6.5 years, and I always wanted to go abroad and live in overseas. And one day I had a little bit of sick, and I decided I don't want to spend all my life in working hard in a company. So I told my boss.
This is in Japan, in a company there?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, go on.
And then decided to come over here as the Japanese assistant teacher. That was back in 2004, December.
All right.
I'm still here.
Around 9 years ago?
Yes, that's right.
So when that happened in 2004, was that a decision to migrate, or was it a bit of a let's work there and see what it's like?
Yeah, it's more, I was working holiday visa holder, just trial,
to start.
Just 1 year. But I was seeing a boy who is my husband now at that time. So
indeed.
Yeah. So
an Australian man?
Yeah, he is.
So it's a love migration.
Yes.
The best kind.
Yes.
But take me back to your environment in Japan. Where did you live? Which city?
I grew up I was born in Chiba City, in Chiba Prefecture. It's near Tokyo, about 40 minutes by train away from Tokyo. And Chiba has it's a peninsula and has the beach along the side. And my town it's not huge, but it's medium population there. And quite big.
Well, Tokyo is what, 8 million?
Yeah, that's right.
And so the town would be what, like 500,000 or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
And near a beach?
Yes.
So what are the beaches like in Japan?
Especially where the beach where near my house, it's not quite nice actually. It's all industrial side.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, compared to Australian beautiful beach, it's nothing. But still, people going there and doing surfing and so on.
Surfing. Oh well, okay. Yeah. And you would commute every day to work, catch a train?
That's right.
All right. Yeah. And what about your family there? You're so young, so you were talking about perhaps in your early 20s you were working there? How big was your family, and how often would you see family members?
In Japan, my parents, mom and dad are there, and I have one older sister. She's in Canada now with my nephew. So 2 daughters of them, my mom and dad,
yes.
in overseas.
They're overseas.
Yeah.
That must be a little sad for them.
Yeah, but I guess these days on Skype anytime and internet and, you know,
brilliant.
Feel more actually closer than where I was in Japan. So
how interesting.
Yeah, it is. We feel distantly it's far away, but we are very close.
It has made the world a smaller place and perhaps a little easier to migrate and change and adapt for them.
Yeah, that's true.
So they can, you know, see how you're going, can read your facial expressions and hear a story. Tell me a little bit about, you know, okay, we talked about the beach and that town, but countryside there is in Japan, isn't there? Mountainside, all these wonderful places.
Yes, that's right.
Would you often make a trip to the mountains and such like?
Yeah, I used to travel a little bit, but not much when I was working. It was too hard, too busy. But my father is from Fukushima Prefecture, and my mother is Akita Prefecture, which is it's more northern area of Japan, and especially my father's hometown. It's a beautiful mountain. There is the beautiful river and so on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is it traditional, is it normal to have like an annual holiday and go, here in Australia we go camping, something similar to?
Yeah, we have, it's called a Golden Week, which is we can get 7 or 5 to 7 days off. It's not a weeks like Australian do.
Yes.
But that's long for Japanese.
Excellent.
So that time we travel.
Excellent. Now, I wonder if your parents are interested to come visit you in Australia?
They have...
That happens too?
Yeah, they were just here in July, August. Especially I gave a birth in June, so my mother and father came, and especially my mother
of course, everyone came to see the baby.
Supported me.
Just like in my culture when I was growing up, and people would come from Italy and Malta to see a newborn Australian. Maltese people who are now Australian people. It's just so wonderful. Well, what about your husband? You know, how's he coping with the Japanese culture in his life?
Well, he lived in Japan for 4 years as well.
Wow.
And he's really getting into the Japanese culture at that time too.
Of course.
So he eats Japanese food and he likes the Japanese culture, Japanese things and so on and so on. So it's really actually easy for me to live with him or...
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, by living there for 4 years, he fell in love with the country as well as your good self. Well, how wonderful to hear your story. But here you are in Australia, and also you've brought an instrument, and later on we'll be hearing you play it.
Yes.
So that is the shamisen?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're most certainly the best shamisen player in the whole of Australia. We'll find out.
Yes, you find out.
We'll continue with migration stories after the break.
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage, because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
Behind your favourite team, there's another team. At all levels, in all codes, sports trainers are working to make sport safer. Sports trainers learn injury prevention techniques from doctors and other health professionals so they can provide the right first aid when the going gets tough.
If your team could do with a sports trainer, maybe it's time you got a little closer to the action.
Find out how you can become a sports trainer. Sports Medicine Australia, providing the team.
Well, apologies there for the technical breakdown again, but we'll now cross back to NAT Chat and the second segment of NAT Chat Migration Stories, and hopefully the rest of the night will be a little bit more uneventful.
Xinyan Kuai-Lu.
And happy Chinese New Year to you. We're here in Little Bourke Street to bring to you an episode of 15 Fabulous Minutes.
Welcome back. We're here with Noriko and her instrument, and in the background your baby and husband.
Yes.
So congratulations, your baby's around 1 year old or?
6 months now.
6 months. Fantastic. So how is it settling into Australia with a family now?
It's wonderful. Always it's been great.
Good services and facilities for you?
Yes, especially I realized the more things after I gave the birth, or even before, the system of Australia.
The Australian system, medical system?
Great, very good.
It is great, isn't it? We're so lucky, aren't we?
I think so, yeah.
And yes, well, you know, everything's going beautifully well there, but still it's a juggle. Are you working or not working a job at the moment?
I returned to perform.
Of course. Well, now you're performing.
3 weeks. So.
However, before the baby was born, you had a job as well?
Yes, I was doing, as a music artist, I played the instrument.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my job.
Oh, well, that's a brilliant job. I wish I could have such a job myself, but I have insufficient talent. But we'll find out in the next section how you're playing. But what about, so what's a sort of a routine in your day here?
Now it's dramatically changed after the baby is born.
Of course.
But before I practiced shamsen, and I had the students come over, and I also go around the school.
So while teaching students, you're also practicing. I think that's what I did wrong. To be a good musician, you need to practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, that's unnecessary things. Necessary things to do.
Indeed.
Yes, yeah.
And which part of Melbourne do you live in?
We live in Brunswick West.
Well, that's excellent sort of area there, not far from Pascoe Vale in the northern suburbs.
Yeah, we always like
Sydney
a north
Road.
side. Yeah.
All right. You've always been in the north side?
Yeah, always.
Excellent. Now, what Australian customs have you taken to?
That's a good question.
Mountain climbing?
Oh, drinking beer, maybe.
Drinking beer?
Yeah.
Well, Japanese make wonderful beer as well.
Yeah, that's right. But I used to not like a beer in Japan. I always drink other alcohol, but after I decided to come over, I thought I have to drink a beer in Australia because so many, nice beers in Australia. It's a big part of it.
There are nice beers.
Yeah.
And, how big is your kind of friend group? Pretty big, or do you miss other people of Japanese background, or not really?
I do miss my friends in Japan, but I'm very lucky that I have lots of nice friends here as well. So.
And the music has brought some new friendships in for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have so many friends through the music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I should mention now, because my colleagues at the Boîte put me in touch with you, and that's the Boîte's little sign. So, but they have, I think, a club and a website service, and they help artists of different backgrounds.
Yes.
How did they help you? I mean, what steps were there?
Yeah, even I was very
new,
very new
to Australia.
Yeah, to the Australia. Then, especially the instrument, shamisen was very rare. But then the board always get me to play there, gave me the chance to play.
Continue to give you more and more exposure. Oh,
exactly.
How wonderful.
Yeah, especially they do mixture thing with other musicians. So that's not only myself, but I can meet the other musician as well. And sometimes Indian musician or jazz and so on and so on. So that I got a lot of knowledge through the opportunity about the music.
How wonderful in Australia that we can have so many people of so many different backgrounds with so few barriers between them. Do you think we're doing a good job here in Australia?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel no better feeling that's I'm Japanese here. Australian people always open their mind and interested in other cultures and questioning about and asking me, with their interest, which is great.
And I noticed that you've played with the blues man too. The Japanese instrument. Is that a Japanese instrument?
It is.
Okay.
It is very traditional. Though I mix with the blues.
You mix with the different musicians. So that's how the Boîte helped you to, not only integrate in the music scene, but also socially.
Yes.
Excellent. Could you tell us a little bit about this instrument now?
Yeah.
We'll be playing it in the next section, but it's a pigskin or?
It's used to, or not used to, but traditionally used the animal skins.
Yeah. But now we spare the animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Use plastic skin as well.
And the strings are nylon?
Top one's a silk and tetron nylon.
Silk? Wow.
Used to be all silk, but...
So you've got one silk string there.
Yeah, that's right. And no flats.
What's that?
No flats.
No frets, yes, of course. So you have to really be strong and hold down the notes.
Yeah, so that we can do a lot of sliding techniques without flats. That's a good thing as well.
All right,
and then 3 strings, and actually I bang the body.
You can bang it as well.
Create the percussive sound, not just the string sound.
How brilliant.
Yeah.
Finally, that, well, I would call it a plectrum, being a, guitar thing. What's the name of that?
It's called bati.
Bati, for batting it.
Batting,
But you strike and manipulate the strings with that.
I hit. So get
How wonderful. And indeed, you do perform regularly, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
And you've probably got a CD or some website. I think the What would be the place to people to reference if they want to find out. And I think I better go along to a show soon too. Stick around, come back after the break, because we'll be hearing Narika play the shamisen.
If you choose to drink then drive,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's,
your family's,
or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Welcome back for our last segment of Migration Stories. We have Narika Tandano, who migrated here and brought us also the wonderful skills on shamisen, the instrument. Thank you very much. Play on.
夢の後シャカホイシャカホイシャカホイシャカホイ
Magnificent. Now tell me about that piece. Is that a pop piece, as it were? Japanese popular song?
It's traditional folk songs. It's called Tabaruzaka.
Now, is that sort of a little bit related to the kind of idea of a raga or something that you introduce the musical theme and then bring it back later in the piece?
Yeah, it's actually I put the interval parts with my improvisation.
Wow.
Yeah, which is actually this thing is about the battle between new government of Japan and the samurai group.
Indeed.
So that's when the
when those battles were happening.
Yeah, happened. So that's I put my feeling of the battle scene in there as
Indeed. And the sadness that would be such a battle, such a battle inside Japan of the old and the new.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderfully expressed in music. Well, how wonderful. Thank you so much. But perhaps another piece. I heard you playing a bluesy kind of a short piece. Just a minute maybe to take us out.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Noriko.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Noriko. And thank you for watching today, Migration Stories for NAT Chat. Please do tune in again next week.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme. Om. Allah.
Welcome to Harmony and Diversity. Ewan Curry is my name. And today we're speaking to Helen Alcock, who is the CEO of Agape Encounters. Helen, Agape Encounter, great name. How did it start? What is it?
It started over 12 years ago. How did it start? I think what I did, I was very deeply involved with the healing ministry in Catholic Charismatic Renewal. Again, as I share on another program, I had a sense, very strong sense and a presence to say, put everything down, came aside from everything I was involved with in parish level and small Christian communities and CCR prayer groups. And I just knew I was to come aside and spend time in quiet. Now, I had already been seeing people who were seeking peace and presence and resolution to whatever was going on. They kept on coming to me, and when I came aside just to spend this time, a group of people followed me. And I said to them, I'm not doing anything other than just spending time being still and quiet. I'm not going out to do anything but to be, and to be available to those who I feel we may be able to assist gain clarity and peace. After 6 months of spending time in quiet, we had loads of people coming to us over that period, because they had already been coming and they continued to come. And we were seeing the most wonderful transformation from one emotional state to another emotional state, and from them gaining such clarity and different perspectives that would change everything for them. That we thought maybe we should be doing something with this. As we were in prayer and meditation, the name Agape came to us, and Encounter came. And I thought, perfect, that's what people are experiencing. It's extraordinary. So we got the sense to organise a company, because my great desire is to be there for all people, to go out to all people, and to show them what is possible, for them to experience what is possible. So Agape Encounter was formed as a company, a not-for-profit organisation. We continued to see people personally. We gained huge amount of knowledge apart from the courses we have done over the many, many years. And we decided then to run workshops, because we couldn't deal with everybody. And during the workshops, we would take people through a meditation, a time where they could, in a group session, they could actually become present to themselves as a result of their life, as a result of the circumstances. And so in that group session, people would do that, and then we would then, as they reconnected to themselves and to their own feelings and emotions and what they're believing, because most people are disconnected from that or not aware, we would then ask them to wait, and then we would invite the presence of love, wisdom, truth, God to come and speak His truth, reveal His truth, His perspective, and it would happen. Not to everybody, because everyone's at different levels, but to many people that came stressed. They would report on their feedback sheet, which we've got 12 years of now, which is just amazing. They would be saying, I was stressed, I'm now at peace. And you get all this feedback over those years, which would encourage you to continue to run workshops. But one of the other things I discovered after working with people personally and as a team is a lot of people lack knowledge. They had no idea on how to deal with their feelings. They had no idea that their feelings came from their thoughts, and it came from their past unresolved experiences more often than not. And how did they go through that? That's where I used to be. I'd learned how to process that I learned how to move from one place to another. I'd worked with people for years, as the team had. So we then began to teach them, change your focus, change your life. All of these insights. I think there's over 60 pamphlets and workshops we've done on different topics that we realised people needed knowledge as well, practical knowledge. You know, how your thinking can change your life, change your mind, change your life. What if? Let's look at the word what if. What if this does happen? Let's face your worst fears and see what's there, and they encounter peace and presence. Mm-hmm. So many, many topics that I've realised over these years of working with people that they lack knowledge, so we would present them in workshops as well as take them through a meditation.
A lot of your background, as you say, was in healing and CCR. What you're describing is a fully developed concept. How much of it has been original inspiration from Divine Essence, and how much has grown from that background in CCR and healing, would you say?
Well, I think CCR, I mean, I'll be forever grateful for them embracing me when I had no idea how to deal with my feelings, where I encountered unconditional love just through the people in simple ways. That was my starting blocks, my experience. I certainly go and give sharings and with people and talk in many groups over the years. So I guess I grew as I shared from my own heart, an experience of presenting and then leading people and then teaching people or sharing with them through a teaching situation on what I had learned over the years. And I think what it did was it went from praying in tongues and Holy Spirit based, having that there, but using all those gifts of words of knowledge, using all that experience, but translating it more to every day, and getting in touch with the person who was sitting opposite me or in the workshops, and getting them, so all that knowledge is there, and just taking it out of it and then putting it language, and making a place that's so comfortable for people to be in, whatever they are, so that they can then become present under the guidance of wisdom.
Yeah, so it's been a filter through of all these points and tied together. Thank you, Helen. We will need to go to a break. We'll have a bit of a break and we'll be back.
I was in my 40s when I was first diagnosed with bowel cancer. George, my son, was 6 years old at that time. These days, like people of his age, he's very busy, but he still needs to find the time to get to know his bowel cancer risk. Is that right, George?
Yes, Dad. Bowel cancer affects 1 in 12 Australians, young and old, and is our second biggest cancer killer. But if caught early, bowel cancer is treatable and beatable. My dad is living proof of that. So get to know your bowel cancer risk. Talk to your pharmacist or GP about screening. Protect yourself and the ones you love. Go to lovemyfamily.org.au.
Juggling work and caring for Mum can be overwhelming. Having an understanding employer and access to support helps. I love my mum. I just wish I had some time to myself.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity. Norm Carey's my name, and we're speaking with Helen Alcock from Agape Encounter. Helen, you gave an example in our other interview about people moving from one point to another. Can you, the darkness to light, if you like, what does Agape do between those 2 points? Person comes in, buried in darkness, leave in light. How do you do that?
Well, what we do, whether it be personal or in the workshop, particularly in the second segment, and I'd like to share with you the body, mind, heart and spirit exercise, which is a very light way of experiencing this. But to answer what you've just said, from moving from dark to light or from stress to peace, is that we give people a very simple process, and sometimes we put it on the blackboard so they get to see how simple it is, and it is always under the guidance of the divine counsellor, under the guidance of unconditional love. That, I just say, you become an observer of what comes up in your mind, your emotions, sometimes your body pain. And all you have to do is to become present to what comes up, and as an observer, note what emotions come up. So we start with, we ask the divine counsellor, what is it in your life at the moment that disturbs you, where you don't have clarity? What is it that he wants to deal with today to help you become free and flowing? So I said, all you do now is close your eyes, and we ask the divine counsellor to do the work, and you observe what comes up. And it may not be what they want to deal with, but they might all of a sudden be in a memory of a situation that has happened recently. It might be a childhood memory. It might be just a sense of blankness or darkness in their mind. Whatever it is, we ask, it is an aspect of your memory. Just hold it. We don't talk about the story, because stories go round and round and often don't get resolved. And then we say, now we invite the divine counsellor, again doing the work, as you look at that memory or that darkness or that situation, we ask the divine counsellor to reveal to you effortlessly, how do you feel? All the feelings you feel in relationship to that memory, that situation, that part of you that's in that memory, maybe the child. And the particular memory or situation, people will feel anger, resentment, all sorts of emotions. They might feel trapped, full of fear. So we'll just keep on allowing those emotions to come up, because you're connecting with the heart. And we're not doing it, we're just asking for the divine counsellor only to reveal what's appropriate. And after 12 years, I know that happens. Then we say, now holding those emotions, we've got the situation, the feelings that you have in relationship to that situation or memory. Now we're going to ask the divine counsellor, as you watch, what are you believing about yourself, your personal worth and value? Because it always comes back to that. What are you believing about yourself as a result of what happened or isn't happening? And it always goes back to, I'm useless, I'm nothing, it's my fault, these are all beliefs. I'm responsible. So we'll say you're very courageous, and there will be what we call a grace being there to make it possible for you to look at it. Because we're just looking, it's there anyway. It's just looking at the belief. And I explained to them, as you believe, so shall it be done to you. So it's just so that it will stop in your life. So they get the belief. This is all done silently under a meditation, just guided meditation. So they might get to, like, it's my fault, I'm alone, I'm useless, I'm hopeless. I say, now hold that. And this is the big one. I say, do you like or dislike yourself in that? Because it's such a huge one I've seen. And I said, if you don't reject yourself or judge yourself or have unrealistic expectations, just acknowledge that. If you don't, just hold where you are with the I'm alone, I'm useless, for example. And so if you've got those judgments, just let them go. If you've got those hatreds of yourself and others, acknowledge them and just let them go. It's like empty. And now I say, now listen. Because we're going to ask the divine counsel, the spirit of truth, of unconditional love, who knows it all anyway, to give you his perspective. Just listen. You may experience a presence, a light. You might hear words. Some people, even men, see angels, a sense of. It's just but how we know we've had that amazing encounter is that we go back to the situation and they have a totally different perspective. We look at the emotions and they've transformed. Peace is there. And it's just profound to see the physical change in the people as they go through the stress of the negative emotions, beliefs, and then when they have and listen to the divine counsellor's perspective, or just maybe the light, when the light comes in to the darkness, that moment I go back and say, now look at those feelings and emotions. Do you still feel them when you think of that situation? It's not relevant. How true is it you're useless? It's not relevant. So what do you feel? Peace, security. In fact, they're not even looking at themselves. They're not even concerned about what their worth and value is, because they feel held, again, like that young man.
Two key words for what a person would need to do to experience that. What would they be?
Would ask the divine counsellor to help them, to guide them. That's the key word. Just get in touch with their feelings, emotions, and the truth.
Right. Thanks, Helen. We'll need to go to a break. So we will have a break and we'll be back.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
Every time we buy certified organic, we're making a choice to help our environment and build a healthier community. But it can be hard to know that what we're buying is truly organic. The Australian Certified Organic logo is only given to products after a very rigorous process. So when you see this logo, it means you can trust that there are no genetically modified foods, no animal cruelty, and no harsh synthetic pesticides used. A healthier community is always better for our future. So the next time you shop, look for this logo.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity. Norm Curry is my name. And we're speaking with Helen Alcock. Helen, there's been a lot of mention of unconditional love. In fact, it's the key issue behind Agape Encounter. Describe it to me. What does unconditional love look like?
Unconditional love, from what I have experienced and others have experienced, is when you know that you've mucked up, you know that you're not perfect, you know a lot of things are in your face about how you're operating, how you've been with others, how you've been with yourself, and all you do is experience love. So it's like we're the ones that block this flow because of our own expectations, but unconditional love is just there all the time, loving us, just as we are, as we would love little children who constantly muck up, fall over, don't get it right, crack up. And what do? Hopefully healthy, unconditionally loving parents just love them anyway. But set firm boundaries and allow them to feel the consequences of their actions, but waits with open arms. So that's what people experience. They come to Agape Encounter seeking to have a shift from where they are, to come to a place of clarity, peace. Because I always say, what do you want? What do you hope to get from this session? What will that give you? And so they want the opposite of what they are. And as I said before, it's often stressed, angry, resentful, stuck, trapped. And of course, more often than not, they end up, you know, revealing that they've rejected them and judged others and hated themselves. A lot of very beautiful, good people reveal that they could murder a few people in the way. So all this sort of comes up. And so in our presence, they allow the Divine Counsellor to bring it up, and it's so safe, they're able to acknowledge it all. So, and what do they experience? In that place of wanting to murder somebody because they make them feel less than, useless, or abandoned them or something like that. And when they hold the abandonment, having showed their heart full of rubbish and glug and terrible things, what do they encounter? Unconditional love. What's that like? As I said before, when they hear that they're not useless or they experience the light and it's not relevant anymore, all they experience is peace and presence and unconditional love. And what have they brought? Their worst, their weakest. It's in your weakness, my power will be made perfect. It's their weakest, worst, most frightening self that they don't like themselves, you know. When they acknowledge that and bring it there, I mean, what that to me is, and that's what I've done. And also, unconditional love for me is, I used to be my own worst critic. I've cut that out because, of course, you only open the door to other people criticising you. But I ask unconditional love to show me where I need to change from time to time, or let his love flow through me. And always, because I need to continue to change as well, always things are revealed to me about my flaws, and I've got lots of them still, about my flaws, but it's like it's so gently revealed to me. No condemnation, no judgment. I feel safe. How precious.
So really that aspect of it is to allow yourself to be unconditionally loved by the divine essence itself. So that this is allow myself to be loved in all of my imperfection.
Anyway.
That's part of the step. What about the translation of that in the other direction, which is from that person who's recognised their belovedness and their expression of that in the world? That connection.
Well, generally speaking, the issue that made them feel so negative and believe negatively, whether it be in their childhood or whenever, because it no longer is relevant, because all of that has been emptied, looked at, it no longer has a trigger in their memory. So in those circumstances, like in my circumstances, I'd go back to a similar situation that used to trigger me off and used to get very angry, and I would react and create a disharmony. It no longer is there. I used to feel abandoned. I don't feel abandoned anymore.
The world looks different.
But you just see clearly, you see it with the divine perspective, you see it without all the junk of negative feelings and beliefs.
You have a process called body, mind, spirit, and I think I've left a word out of there.
Heart.
And heart.
Yes.
What's that look like?
Well, when people come to the workshop, in fact, we can do this anywhere. We say to people, just again, be the observer and ask unconditional love to guide you. This is a reconnecting exercise. So we become present.
Yes.
We ask him to say, reveal what we are as a result of our life, what we are like in our mind. So we close our eyes and we get a sense, perhaps when you first wake up, what's your mind like? And more often than not, it's running all over the place, out of control. So, you know, as your mind is, so is your life. So we invite unconditional love to come in, and as we just watch and observe, we see peace come and settle it and centre it. So with our body, reveal what our body's like, any aches or pains, invite the divine presence. So we observe what our Creator does. And the pain disappears unless it's deeper stuff. Our heart, people get an essence, when they look at their heart, sometimes they say, look, it's red, or it's broken, or it's cracked, or it's got things stuck in it, symbolically of where their heart is. No wonder we get sick. And then we invite love in, unconditional love, and I say, watch.
Yes.
I love them watching to see what can happen. And if they watch, their heart will just transform more often than not into this great sense of being healed. Their spirit, which most people ignore, unfortunately a lot of people ignore, their highest form of being is usually flat, dead, lifeless, because the spirit brings life. Yes. So we just acknowledge what your human spirit's like and invite the divine spirit. And it just sort of, like it's blown up, light comes and there's peace. Yes. Very quick way of connecting to the divine.
An excellent way. It's a pathway of unconditional love. We've come to the end, and thank you so much, Helen. It's been very illuminating. Thank you for watching Harmony and Diversity, and we'll be back next week.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
Now it's time for a quick reminder of programs coming up tonight on MELfeed.video, so please stay with us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Friends, I trust? Yes. I have been requested to speak to you tonight, this afternoon, on the subject of inspiration. Inspiration in its varied manifestations. Yes, there was a time, my friends, I remember fondly, when I understood the meaning of inspiration. Then I married. Well, yes, however, marriage, my good friends, ever remains, I believe, as I have been told repeatedly, may I add, yes, marriage, I have been told, remains the source of great inspiration. Excuse me for a moment, my wife beckons assuredly to whisper words of, I believe, inspiration before she trips off to her gym assignation and spa. Excuse me one moment. Yes. Yes, my wife has given me orders, suggestions, to the effect that I, must remind you all of that her favourite gym is currently offering generous discounts to all new members. Her gym is located in Keeler Road, Essendon. Inspire to perspire. Maintain the gain, enjoy the pain. Sports Centre, 500 Keeler Road, Essendon. Yes, as I was saying, marriage remains the source of tremendous inspiration, although marriage, perhaps as a conveyor, or as one might say, a conduit for inspiration, may occasionally, dare I say, throw up an impediment or two. Let me to the marriage of true minds admit no impediment. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 116. William Shakespeare, our great bard and playwright, a man barred from all pubs, as my good friend Mick O'Rourke would say, an oft-arrested and inspired drinker. Yes, as our great bard and playwright found inspiration, undoubtedly, on many a cold Stratford night, in the ample arms of his beloved and his betrothed, Anne Hathaway. Anne our dear Anne has her way constantly, with our will, passionately. Anne Hathaway was a lady, I believe, possessing a somewhat excess of maturity. But as they say, what matters once the wick of candle has been snuffed? Eventually our young poet, moved by inspiration of another sort, there's a man who's moved. Eventually our young poet, moved by inspiration of another sort, fear and debt collectors, fled after leaving his dear Anne his second best bed. And I suspect, flinging his best bed across his horse's saddle and galloping to London and the stage, only to find that the Puritans, London's grumpy senior citizens before pension day, inspired by their passion to stamp out all playhouse iniquity, had rendered the theatres globaless and squatter-ridden, leaving our poor bard naught to do but hold a horse and hold his peace, for which the darkened theatre offered him ample opportunity. I too have found inspiration during my early school days, early, because my parents had locked me out of house and home, forbidding me never to return home until I was clever. Reading the works of the immortal bard, I was inspired to learn his stuff by rote and so avoid an inspirational clouting. Yes, I don't know, where was I? Yes, marriage, my friends, is surely the source of precious inspiration. But speaking of marriage, was that my wife returning? No. Marriage and an associated matter that has stimulated much heated debate, too much misdirected heat, I would say, has been, should there be or should there not be sex before marriage? My wife, I remember, yes. However, I am prompted to ask, is there sex after marriage? My wife, as you know, has taken herself off to her inspire and perspire torture chamber, working her inspired butt off as I speak, torturing those poor belts and weights and gravitational defiance, a spectacle of inspired gravitational defiance, and will arrive home tonight. What's the time now? Yes, inspired, but not regrettably inspired in that way. Although she may be relied upon to be sufficiently inspired to raid the fridge noisily, like hearing the ultra-amplified sound of lettuce chomping snails. Yes, my friends, I still understand the meaning of inspiration. In fact, I have written the meaning of inspiration here in my diary. Well, here it is. Here. That's right, yes. Friday, dentist. Chiropodist Saturday. Chiropractor Monday. Funeral Tuesday. Sudden, poor fellow. His first girlfriend in 30 years. Now, let's see. Yes, I am sure that I jotted the meaning of inspiration down during, I might say, a moment of heightened inspiration. Yes, here it is. Hard to read. I remember I was at the time of my heightened inspiration standing under a rather sparse tree during a full-on downpour, and as a result, incidentally, I had paused at the time to take cover under my sparse tree during a Stop the War in Iraq protest march. And we were heading for a termination point somewhere in St Kilda Road. My chosen tree was, as it transpired, in close proximity to the Inspired Fantasies massage parlour. I mean the Management Employment Agency, when the sudden deluge interrupted my inspired protest march. I had, by the way, the opportunity of enjoying the convivial company under that ineffectual tree of an inspired socialist, an inspired anarchist, an inspired but lost tourist, an inspired but very skinny vegetarian, and an inspired but very beflagged bulldog barracker. Inspired to stop the war in Iraq. Failed. As I say, I remember writing the meaning of inspiration in my diary, but it seems that the wisdom of that entry has been, drowned. Not to worry. I've also jotted down the meaning of inspiration in my notebook. never without it, have been inspired to write a novel, Frozen Love, the igloo memories of an Eskimo madam. I have it here in my back pocket. Yes, should be here. No, any pocket. It seems, unless I remember now, the phone rang and I was at the time a little indisposed. Had to flush and rush. Needless rush. Some woman selling inspirational cookery tours of Bangkok. Where did I leave that notebook? Never mind. I'm sure that we can all recall memorable moments of inspiration. And before I open the meeting to you all and invite you all to share your own moments of inspiration with us, may I start the inspirational ball rolling, as it were, by relating one or two moments of inspiration I have enjoyed in my life. Yes, first of all, I recall, when was I now? Where was I? Was it the time? Then again, I'm sure... Oh, look, isn't it time the management here attended to that noisy air conditioning system? Now, is it your turn to tell us your moments of inspiration? How about you going first? Have you had any inspirations to talk of?
Not lately.
Oh, sorry. Oh, dear. How about you? Have you got anything to say? Sorry, time's up. Yes. Now, I'm sure that you could be... Tell us about your moment. Nothing coming? Well, I am going, but not far.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
Hi, this is Darren McAlane from Air FM Drive. Join me from 3 to 6 p.m. every afternoon on 88.0 in Penrith, and also you can catch me on tunein.com. That's from 3 to 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Daddy's gonna sing you a lullaby. When you're sleeping safe and sound, you've got the proudest dad in town. I remember when I first saw you, your heart beating as you grew. We'll read you stories to help you dream. Your mommy and I are a perfect team. I can't wait to hear you sing or watch as you put on a wedding ring. One day you'll have children too. Remember the times I sang to you.
This one's to Ted Lord. Keep it in memory. It's called Tonight I Can't Sleep. Tonight I can't sleep because I'm thinking, grieving about Ted. I don't want to enjoy the moon or hear the rustling of leaves. I want to yell at death and be hysterical to the stars. Don't want to hear as you walk in the valley of the shadow. I want to hear you flew over it and created that silhouette. Tonight I can't sleep because I'm grieving about Ted. Tell Dante that inferno and purgatory exists on earth. Teach Van Gogh about colour outlines and erotic curves. I want to yell at death and be hysterical to the stars. I want to remember the jokes you said when you emceed. I want to go to sleep because I'm tired, and tonight I can't sleep because I'm thinking about Ted. I'll miss you, old fellow, and your cheeky smile, especially when you introduce me as a Greek. I want to yell at death and be hysterical to the stars. Tonight, a valley has been hacked through my heart, keeping me awake through this tender night. Tonight, I can't sleep because I'm thinking, grieving about Ted, and I want to yell at death and be hysterical to the stars.
Busking on the bridge at Footscray Station. The wind rhymes with the sound of their pants brushing against their legs. The music must shift to a higher register whenever the diesel trains roar, and my free-to-anyone miniature chapbooks of poetry and flute perhaps alter by 1 second a peak hour's beat. I'll try to hit the bum notes with the same amount of pleasure as the perfectly played ones. hit a fast trill when the coins land. The most regular givers are the more recently arrived immigrants. So I wonder, as I play my flute, about other people who are playing instruments with bare feet on dirt streets for different sounding lands, with a cloud to guide each note, with a train track in my throat. Bloodletting in water. In art, we try to make small cuts upon the surfaces of our thoughts, wanting mind breaths to appear as a red mist floating inside still water, while dreaming within black spirits who appear at night amidst pins of light. We may be someone in a pitch-dark cave trying to locate a single remaining stalactite that will try not to touch, but try to hear what is anciently formed and freshly dripping.
Iris. Emerging from the thin, dry tissue of its sheath, the bud is dark and glossy like a cone of tightly wound silk. Tight, but not wound really. Petals are not cloth, although that first hat maker's thought believes flowers too start flat and simply. Try looking out of the back of your head. It's in that kind of blindness things sprout, cell from cell, compacted but in parts which can, do, grow, self-fed and opening out into fine branching tunnels and plush flesh. Not wound then, and not wounded either, though a day or two in the corrosive air will dull the sheen of the full-blown flower. The breeze will take it and shake or rub from it a haze of molecules, a scent. Still, sunlight brings it sharply into my and every other point of view. I can't deduce what the bee sees, but guess, if wooed by such elaborate flair, its pinhead brain must be a connoisseur. What do I see? A dark light contrast of lifted and lower petals, a yellow beard, a rich purplish brown, a repeated flash of yellow where caterpillar stamens stand out distinctly, something phallic, a crown, a skirt, a shape, a glance from any angle always calls complete, and by a name. Everything's in threes, small inner petals arching sturdily, each hood's a pistil, roof's an open throat, three lowered petals, velvet, silver smudged, displayed like tongues of Maori warriors. Each bears a central pollen-powdered strip of tasselled bee's bed cushioned yellowness, and from that strip 2 flares of tiger stripes spill edgeways like delta water, delta mud. The paler petals lift their trembling flags, almost translucent, very lightly veined. I close my eyes. In multiple snapshots, replay the limbs of butchered Osiris. Thank you.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
You teach us strangers are dangerous, but someone we know is a much more likely threat. You teach us strangers are dangerous, but who will help when you're not around? Create a world without unnecessary fear. Prepare, don't scare.
We trudged away from death on the side of the hill. Bodies lay dead and dying. I see them still. I guess I always will. Death then travelled to different lands, guns fired in vain in other young man's hands. This was surely not in their mother's plans. The tactics are different. The results are still the same. Cruel intentions designed to kill, damage and maim. Innocent victims' lives cut short. This is just insane. Why can't we fight wars on paper instead? Don't use our bodies, just use our head. But that would be too civilised, no one dead. War is futile, losses on every side. Violence escalates because of human pride. All groups claiming God is on their side. Which God would stand by and see the destruction of his creation? Countries and families destroyed by this devastation? In hell God may send us to eternal damnation. For he gave us free will. Was it a mistake? To see what man would do? How many lives would he take? Would he be proud of the weapons and bombs that we make? Or is God just playing fair by giving the devil a chance to have a shot at this fine earth, teaching us a war dance? Then will God step in when it's his turn to wear the pants? And what if God and the devil were really just a fantasy? The world would destroy itself in time if we don't wake up and see that we have to stop this fighting for our children's legacy. Thank you.
What I wanted to do is I wanted to read you a prose poem, and I won't read you the whole of it because it's 5 pages long. I'm going to read for 2 minutes, and I'm going to stop. It's called Places on the Borderland of Sleep. There are places on the borderland of sleep. This is such a place. This is the dark edge into which the edge of sleep This is the dark place into which the edge of sleep projects like the cracked, crumbling edge of a continent, like the ragged perimeter of the inside of a jigsaw puzzle, not yet connected to the straight lines of wakefulness. This is the shifting surface of the ocean of dreams. This is the shadow of infinitesimal thickness which lies between my body and the sheets. I let myself slide, sink into the blackness, which folds me, which engulfs me, cocoons, wraps me in its dusty veil and carries me into the darkness. There are rooms. There are a series of rooms, a series of doors. This is the castle of Harlech, dim-shadowed legend of memory. The niches have blue-shaven men who stand unmoving. They track you with their eyes, but they cannot see where you are going. They can only spy where you have been. And this is the castle that rejects the invader. This is the castle that frowns in the lines of its stones. But this door opens, and then this door, and now we are in the palace of the Snow Queen. This is a frozen silence where life is a sin, where life is a red splash on the white coverlets of the courtyards, where the eye turns movement into ice statues. During the night, the statues stay still and frosted, but the chill winter sun of morning melts them into rivers of ice that become white silken scarves, rivers of scarlet which become red satin hangings. And the ice castle of the morning transforms into the crack of dust, the castle of the night of the east. This is the castle of dull buff sandstone, of Moorish pierings, of cupola-shaped crenellations. And the lovers stroll in glorious turbans, his topped by a conical helmet spike, hers by a breath of the shot of softest, finest chiffon. Her arms are bare, his in billowing linen sleeves. He has a naked scimitar thrust through his satin cerise belt. She is wearing velvet blue slippers under her pantaloons of powdered sky. Arm in arm, the lovers stroll through the scented air, through doorways, over courtyards carpeted anew, each dust with the fruit of spreading mulberry trees. Her slender hand, with its long tapered fingers bare of jewels, rests on the inside of his strong elbow. She is an houri, her eyes a panther's eyes, her movements as graceful as a young deer, her laughter infinitely sweet. From behind, the small of her back glistens with minute downy hairs, and she pauses amid mid-step. She turns her head the smallest fraction, tilts it the tiniest angle, and she brings one hand up as if to lower the merest mist of veil which covers the lower part of her face. Then her hand falls, she glances up at her lover, says something light at which they both laugh, and they move on.
This one's called Go Aussie Go. We've played hard to get this far, and we set our goals to play as stars, and we've placed our hearts on our boots and shot through nets with the power in the foot. And there's an anthem in our heart and we'll sing forever. There's a ball in our soul and we'll play together. They're the flame of the nation, lighting fires in our hearts, and I'm glad the Australians are playing in the World Cup. They're a long way from home, they haven't gone alone, and the supporters have followed along and will hear our country's song. There's a flag in our heart and we'll play forever. There's a ball in our soul. Let's sing together. Go Aussie, go Aussie, go. Go Aussie, go Aussie, go. Go Aussie.
Okay, we're about to head into 15 fabulous minutes, and tonight's topic is Chinese New Year in 1999. So we go back to 1999 and the Chinese New Year celebrations in Melbourne at that time. We then go into the CEC Report, and then heading into Transports of Distant Delight, which is a repeat of Series 1, Episode 4, and a chance to see that episode again if you've missed it. And just a little note that the bus strike that was supposed to happen tomorrow is apparently off. So buses should be running pretty much as normal but it'd be probably advisable to check the Public Transport Victoria website before you travel, just in case that bus strike in Melbourne, Geelong and Ballarat happens to be back on again. But at this stage, it's not going ahead. Anyway, we'll go straight now into 15 fabulous minutes, and we'll see you next week.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Xin Yan Kwai Lu.
And happy Chinese New Year to you. We're here in Little Bourke Street to bring to you an episode of 15 Fabulous Minutes and the Year of the Dragon to Melbourne.
That's right, brings you luck, doesn't it?
And it's said that those born under the Year of the Dragon are born leaders. Were you born under the Year of the Dragon, Steve?
No, monkey, actually.
Me neither, but anyway, you get that. So enjoy what the Chinese community has got to offer, Melbourne, and also enjoy the Year of the Dragon. The firecrackers are going off behind us as we speak, but this is Ken Lam, the president of the Chinese Youth Society of Melbourne. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Very exciting times.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely.
So what's about to occur behind us here?
Okay, we're going to have an opening ceremony today because it's the Year of the Dragon. Also coexists with the new century. And this year we're going to have 12 lions and we'll be dancing with 2 dragons.
What's the significance of the dragon?
What is the one, I'm sorry?
The significance of the dragon.
It's powerful, richness. It's a mystical creature, and Chinese culture is a powerful symbol.
Right. Okay. And it's a golden dragon as well, from what I can gather, which is something again.
That's right. There's a golden dragon over there, and we also have a girls' team coming out this year to do the dragon.
Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Now, how important is Chinese New Year to you?
Very important.
And why is that?
Because it's like just celebrating your New Year, and it's like celebrating ours.
It's very family orientated on New Year's Eve. Everybody got together. You did all that.
Yeah.
Have a dinner.
Yeah.
So what would you eat then on like New Year's Eve as a traditional? Do you have a traditional meal?
Yeah, we do. We just have like seafood dishes and vegetable dishes and that.
Name a few, like stir-fried rice and all that sort of stuff, or not so?
No, it's actually cooked dishes and everything, like fish.
So when are you inviting me over to your house then?
Next year?
Yeah, cool, we'll be there.
What fantastic costumes you girls have got on today. And this is Carmen, and Carmen's actually going to tell us what the girls are going to be doing as part of the Chinese festival.
This is actually a traditional mountain dance from China, and it's actually a tribal dance that you'll see when you do it. But it's a very traditional dance that they actually perform throughout the entire year at various occasions.
And so how long have you been practicing for?
We've been practicing for just under a month, about 2 days a week.
Okay, so how did you get chosen and selected to take part in this?
Well, I actually perform with this organisation every year, and I recruited some new girls this year to dance.
Okay, all right. And so next year you're going to be doing the same thing?
Every year we've been doing different dances. We do traditional Chinese dances every year, Chinese folk dancing, and it's different every year.
Fantastic, looking forward to it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, what brings you here?
Chinese New Year, I guess, yeah.
And what about yourself?
Chinese New Year, yeah.
And you've gone in the theme of what?
Yeah, well, it is the year of the dragon.
Yeah.
This year, you know.
And what's going to be big for you this year?
It's going to be big. Lots of music and dancing, singing.
You look like you've just come from out of a rave. You just got lost and Miranda down the wrong street.
I know, I don't go to raves. I'm too old for that.
Too old for that.
Here we are at the Chinese Museum, and it's not just the Chinese New Year the Premier is covering, of course, hard-hitting political questions.
Look, I think this is what's great about Victoria and Melbourne, that we have many cultures, including the Chinese culture, which we can celebrate. And looking around here, we can see it's not only Chinese Australians who are celebrating, but Europeans, all nations, all parts of Victoria here celebrating as well. And that is fantastic. It's a culture that's been here for more than 100 years. The celebrations are packed here in Burke Street. They're coming from all over Victoria. I've met people from country Victoria as well. It's a great New Year's celebration, and the year of the Golden Dragon, of course, which is a year of optimism. It's a positive dragon. It's one about leadership. It's one about renewal. It's one also about being dogged and sticking to things, the very qualities that I want to bring to it. And I take some inspiration out of the year of the Golden Dragon and the celebration here in Victoria.
Just wondering what it's like driving Steve Brax around. Is he a bit bossy? Does he grab the Melway? Does he make you go faster? Or does he stick to the speed limits? Because, of course, he's reducing them, isn't he?
I don't know if he's reducing them or not. It's only in built-up areas, I think.
Okay, I thought it was going from 60 kilometres to 50 kilometres in built-up areas.
Yeah, it could be right. It could be right, yeah.
So as a driver, you're not 100% sure?
Not yet, no.
Chinese astrology, how does it compare to Western astrology with the stars?
Well, it's 1,000 years older, so, and they know quite a bit more about it, and it also involves the year and the month and the fortnight you're born and the season and the hour.
Can you tell us a bit about the year of the dragon? What does that mean for us?
I can tell you it's the most important to the Chinese because it's the strongest of all the animals. The dragon takes no nonsense from anyone, and it also looks after everybody, so the Chinese do respect it. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about the rooster and the monkey, and how do you come up with these, like, some quite bizarre animals? I mean, the rat.
Yes. The rooster is you can't tell a rooster what to do because it just needs to tell everybody what to do, you know. But it's very productive, so it's always on the move. If you have a monkey friend, well, so long as you're introducing games to them and fun times, that's what they love most of all. The rat was the first of the animals that actually went to Buddha. When Buddha was dying, he called upon all the animals to pay him homage. And the first one that went along was the rat. So therefore, in a sense, it's the biggest in the Chinese astrology.
How do you mean the biggest?
Well, you know, number one important. It's the first one that went to Buddha. And so, and the rat needs to know things, so therefore it's always in and around cupboards, and it's very strong. It's able to climb, swim, whatever, and it's very intuitive, so it knows events before they occur.
And what's your sign?
And this is why they jump off ships, if they know it's going to sink. You know?
They're the first off, aren't they?
And I am the dog, the friendly dog. We family orientated, look after the house.
So what are you guys doing here today?
Well, basically what we're doing is these lions.
They're lions.
And what happens is the lions have to be woken up. Someone's actually going to wake these lions up, and they're going to sort of pretty much dance around and welcome the dragon. And the dragon's going to basically dance around and wish everyone good luck.
So how do you know the difference between a lion's head and a dragon's head?
Normally a lion head is a lot smaller. It's only comprised of two people.
Okay.
The dragon is normally a lot longer.
But the head's relatively very similar.
It kind of looks a bit smaller and rounder.
So how heavy is the head?
The head varies between about 15, 20 kilos sort of thing.
Wow. And which one is your head? This is your head. Yeah. Can you put it on? Or you can't do that? Break tradition?
I can.
How hot do you get in now?
Sorry?
How hot do you get in there?
It gets pretty warm in here actually, because there's no air, as you can imagine. And with the crackers, sometimes the smoke goes up and you can't breathe at all. So
Now, I don't know if you can see this, come in here, got this little string here, which makes his eyebrows move up and down. Looks good, huh?
Well, we're crashed down here. We're kind of whispering because we've just been disciplined. We've been told off big time. Everybody's got to get out of the area because the dragons are about to approach and be woken up. It's sleeping at the moment. I think it's snoring. I can't hear. It's just like those crackers went off, everybody ran for cover. I couldn't look, I thought I was going to take my eye out.
Happy Chinese New Year. Stay tuned after the break, more coming up.
Hey guys, my name is Ben from Buddhist International Association. Today is Chinese New Year. We are here to celebrate it. And one of the sessions we provide here is we're teaching people how to drink tea in Buddhist way. And this is about how to serve, how to prepare, and how to enjoy it. We would like to invite both Chinese and Aussie to come along and to learn it and to have fun and to enjoy drinking tea. Thanks a lot.
How are you going to celebrate the Chinese New Year?
I think we're having a family dinner with all our cousins and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and do you have like Chinese New Year's resolutions?
No.
No. Do you have any Australian ones?
No, not really.
I've got one for you.
What's that?
Bring earplugs next year.
It's a good one.
I'm here with Christina Joe, and she's, well, obviously you're writing in the script. Now, how long has the script been around for?
That's about more than 3,000 years, and but in calligraphy style that people start to pick it up as art, it's probably about 3,000 years.
3,000 years. And how long has it taken you to learn all the script?
Well, since I'm a small kid, and then I went to a fine art school, So it's my profession, and so since it's about another 30 years learning.
Is it hard to learn?
You need devotion. It's quite hard. After the uni, I actually went to the master and followed the master another 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, so basically, how many words is there in the calligraphy altogether?
Well, they have different styles. Like I'll do a simple one later to show you how they look so different, and they all still the same character. But because it's a kind of art, they have developed like the running style, grass style, and they have this square style, which is like a print we use for print books. But they have about 4 major styles, and so each character you can actually change them with different styles.
So they still mean the same thing, but just like, I guess, like English written in Roman and so forth and different scripts. Okay, well, can you just show us some examples for us?
This means magic 15 minutes. I hope you like it. Here.
What does the Chinese New Year mean to you?
Chinese New Year? Yeah. Oh, it's a big day, isn't it?
Why is that?
Well, it's just like, what's Christmas to you?
It's very, very important, actually. You're right. So do you get presents as well? Do you have a Santa type of character?
Get one of this.
What's that?
Ang Pao.
What's that?
That's like gifts, you know, right? There's a gifts instead of getting a present. You give gifts in a red packet, as we call it.
Okay, so what's in the red packet?
Oh, you can put usually it's money. Yeah. That's right. All right.
Okay. Well, happy Chinese New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank
no,
you.
Don't you give it to anybody?
Oh no, I need to know you before I give you one.
Jacqueline Shields, pleased to meet you. I don't think I'm going to get one.
Actually, I do have a small one. Yeah, I got a small one.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I managed to scam my first Chinese New Year gift in this gorgeous little packet here. Normally you get money in them, I just want to know what's in it. Drum roll. Got the drum roll. Ta-da! $2.
The dragon is going home and it's backing up, it's backwards, not the front way. We've got the tail end guy. Now, why is it that everybody's touching the tail? Good luck. Good luck means good luck. Have you enjoyed it today?
Yes, it's been fantastic.
Tiring?
Very. That's why there's 2 of us on the tail.
2 people on a tail. Okay, we're going underneath. And how's it been under here today?
Heavy and hot. Good fun.
A bit sweaty?
Yes, it is.
Danny is the organiser of this fantastic event that's taking place here. A bit quieter than the crackers that have been happening today. Can you tell us a bit about the significance of checkers in the Chinese community?
Well, this is called Chinese chess. It's
chess?
Not chess, yeah. It's not checker.
Is it horses or kings or queens?
There's kings, not queens. There's like a general or something you call that. And we got the rook, we got the knight, we got the bishop, we got the advisor, and we also got the pawns. But each side got 16 pieces.
So is it basically the same as chess?
Close to it, but not exactly the same. But the game is Chinese people has been playing for thousands of years, probably more than 2,000. So it's a very interesting game once you know how to play. For example, Darren was here. He's the Western. He can play not bad, but he's improving every year. Every year he comes here.
Okay.
Sugarcane juice.
Yes.
What's the flavour?
That's
little bit.
Just a little bit. What do you do with this bit? You make rice paper or something?
No.
Put it away.
Kizzy, what are you actually cooking here?
Chinese barbecue meat.
Okay, is this traditional New Year food?
Yes, it's very popular in Singapore, in Malaysia.
What else do people eat for Chinese New Year? What dishes do they eat?
They eat the New Year cake.
New Year cake, what's that made out of? Is it like a lamington?
It's a rice kind of flour. It's brownish in colour. And it's a bit sweet. Normally they fry it with eggs.
Oh, that's a bit different. Fried cake with eggs. What else do you eat for Chinese New Year?
Chinese lollies. What else? And a lot of sweets. Coconut.
There's a lot of sweet things there. And I'm in the China bar at the moment, and I think you're a bit too busy to enjoy your Chinese New Year, aren't you?
Yeah, we are enjoying, but we still have to work for the Chinese New Year.
Now, are there any traditional Chinese dishes to celebrate New Year with?
In China, everything is special.
Yeah.
But especially, I think it's Hainanese chicken rice because most people like it very much.
And what does that taste like? What's in that recipe?
Sorry?
What's in that particular dish?
Well, we as an employee, we don't really know the recipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you eat for Chinese New Year?
Sorry?
What do you eat for Chinese New Year?
Which?
What do you eat for Chinese New Year? And John is enjoying the Chinese New Year. You having a good day?
Yeah, good, nice.
And you enjoying the music as well?
Oh, yes, very nice.
Yeah, it's a Chinese opera.
Yeah, that's old style of opera, Chinese, almost all people like to hear the music, it's good music.
Is this a drama that we're hearing on stage?
Yeah.
Yeah? Can you tell us a bit about the storyline and what the significance is?
It's a love story,
Yeah.
It's a love story for a man and a woman,
Is it like Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
Is it a tragedy?
Oh, yeah.
And do you have fortune cookies?
Fortune cookies, yeah, we do.
Yeah. Are they real? Like, are they really going to give you the answer?
Sorry?
Are fortune cookies for real?
The fortune, is it real? Well, it depends on you believe or not. When you open it, if you believe, you believe.
Do you believe?
Yes. Well, sometimes depends. If it's a good luck, I believe, yeah.
Well, here we are. It's the end of the Chinese New Year for us. We've got our fortune cookies.
What's your fortune say?
No, well, I tell you what, I haven't had good luck so far. That dragon smashed me in the head. I've got a black eye.
Okay.
What is yours?
The only rose without a thorn is a friendship.
The only rose without a thorn is a friendship.
Oh.
Think about that one. And mine is...
No, you're supposed to eat the cookie.
No, carbohydrate. This insert has a protective coating. What's that mean? Gosh.
The wrong way.
Okay. You will succeed in making a small sum by investing in a business project.
Well, let's just contemplate on that. That'll leave you some thinking to do until the next time.
If you've got any donations to make, maybe you should give us a call.
Each week, MELfeed.video presents the CEC Report. The Citizens Electoral Council of Australia presents a weekly program of political and economic analysis with policy solutions which are aimed at saving Australia from economic collapse and also suggest ways in which interested members of the public can assist in their campaigns. The CEC Report, coming up next on MELfeed.video.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The
three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help them. Join the Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "G'day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it. It's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
more members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Welcome to the CEC Report. I'm Robert Barwick and I'm joined today by CEC's Victoria State Chairman, Jeremy Beck. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks, Robbie.
In this week's CEC Report, momentum building to break up Australia's crooked banks and stop being willful victims of drought and high electricity prices. There are clear solutions. Before we begin, Jeremy, I have an important announcement to make. For the regular viewers of the show, you'll remember last week's episode, Craig and Lisa discussed this film called The Magnitsky Act Behind the Scenes. And it's a film that exposes one of the most contentious issues between the United States and Russia, which is a law that was passed in 2012 that sanctions certain Russians that were accused of being involved in a certain act. And that law has become the basis of more sanctions targeting individuals, right? So it's something that the Russians have taken exception to. It was explained on last week's show. The good news is the producers of the film have just released it publicly online, and it's on Vimeo. You can go and watch it. You've got to pay to rent it, but if there's any film you're ever going to pay to rent, it's this one. So let's just watch the trailer, the preview for this film.
The story itself is horribly shocking.
Вот схема.
Магнитский, вы же умный человек.
Подпишите дело с концом. Ничего не крали, никаких налогов, ни из какой казны. Магнитский герой.
Sergei Magnitsky was my lawyer, and he was murdered by the Russian state.
By me telling the story in 10-minute testimonies, it's created laws, it's created major international investigations. It's created huge repercussions with the Russian government.
We are sending a signal to Vladimir Putin and to the Russian kleptocracy.
Anybody who says that Sergei Magnitsky didn't expose a crime before he was arrested is just trying to whitewash the role of the Russian government.
Es ist die Geschichte eines Amerikaners, der nicht Geschäfte machte und reich wurde, weil er stahl. Und es ist die Geschichte von 230 Millionen Dollar, die eben gestohlen wurden.
These kind of documents all come from broad sources.
Now, so there you go. I can't emphasise enough how valuable this film is. And what I like about it the most, Jeremy, is that the main character, Bill Browder, who I think is one of the most sinister individuals in the world, his lies are exposed in the film by himself, by his own words, right? Because the filmmaker set out to make a film on his behalf to tell his story, and the filmmaker, who's Russian, read the Russian documents he was using and realised they don't say what you say they say. And that began a process where he, by the end of the film, he's fully exposed. And it's very important because we live in a world now where the backdrop is this tension between the United States and Russia. Tension which we've been worried about for a long time could easily escalate into something more. A lot of the accusations, we're used to having all these accusations made against Russia by the American government, the British government, the Australian government. We can't prove them to be true. We don't know personally, so we have to accept it on trust, right? Well, this film proves that those kind of accusations are often based on real disinformation, which the media and the politicians never have any proof of, right?
Oh, exactly right. I mean, I watched the full 2 hours. I can't stress enough, you know, if you watch this, it'll just blow you away. The lies we've been told. Channel 7 that ran that program, just straight out lying.
They were. That was on the 29th of July, the Channel 7 Sunday night program where they had this guy on. Watch this film. We can't emphasise it enough. All right, so that said, let's get on with the program. So our first story today, momentum building to break up Australia's crooked banks. And the good news is, Jeremy, 2 days ago, this week, the Greens announced their policy on breaking up the banks. And frankly, it's an excellent announcement. I'll just give you some of the details. Now, the Greens have long said that they support breaking up the banks, ending vertical integration, right? We are the ones, though, that have pushed a specific law, right, for an Australian Glass-Steagall Act, and the Greens have not had much detail of what they wanted. Well, now they've come out with detail, and the detail is good. So what they're putting forward as their policy is that banks can only provide financial services in one of 4 areas: traditional banking, deposits and loans, large-scale superannuation funds, including default funds and choice funds, insurance, including life insurance and general product insurance, or complex financial products used for investment banking, hedge funds, self-managed super funds, financial markets, auditing and liquidation. In other words, what you would, to be technically correct, only the first of those is actual banking. And what they're saying is banks that do that cannot do any of the other things, but also if you're an insurance, that's all you are, is insurance. If you're a super, that's all you are, is super.
So there's no conflict of interest.
Get rid of conflicts of interest out of the system. That's very good. The other thing they've said is they want to hand over more regulation to the ACCC, right, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, instead of ASIC and APRA, which have failed so miserably. Now that's very significant because our regular viewers will remember that back in February, the APRA bail-in law passed through the Senate with 7 senators present in the room. And I made a big deal. I was there, right? And I singled out for criticism the Greens Senator, Peter Whish-Wilson, because he signed off on it going, and we fundamentally disagree with that. But we also pointed out, there was 2 things we pointed out about what he said. One was very bad, because he said, I trust APRA. You've got to trust the regulators. He said, I trust APRA.
I'm sure he regrets that now.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. There's evidence. The second thing he said was he welcomed any legislation in the Parliament for Glass-Steagall to break up the banks. He calls for someone to bring that forward, right? So what's happened since then is we have brought forward legislation for Glass-Steagall, which Bob Catter introduced on the 25th of June. So that legislation is now in Parliament. And Mr. Whish-Wilson, in making this announcement 2 days ago, he hasn't done a mea culpa and said I was wrong, but he said this. I'll read out what he said, and you'll see it doesn't gel with what he said back in February about APRA. He goes, quote, our regulation of the financial services and of the big banks has failed. There's been a lot of evidence that our regulators, both across ASIC and APRA, have been captured. Well, never a truer word was spoken. So that would indicate to me that Senator Peter Whish-Wilson has expanded his view since February, and this is very important. Now, what's also significant about it is this announcement by the Greens has attracted the endorsement of the former chairman of the ACCC, Professor Alan Fels, and people may remember that name. He was the inaugural chairman of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission. He hasn't been chairman for a long time, but one of his points is the regulator he was part of, they're much more aggressive in using prosecution, right? And of course that's been one of the criticisms of the whole banking sector, not just in Australia, around the world. The regulators don't prosecute anybody, right? They get away with murder or the financial equivalent of it. Professor Fels, he's not just endorsing the Greens statement, he's endorsing the policy of Glass-Steagall in his own words, right? So I'll just read the comments that he was quoted in the Australian newspaper saying. He said, "There are a number of serious structural issues that need to be considered. The first and most obvious is the separation of the activity of creating financial products and then offering so-called independent advisory services to customers on what are the best products." So that's vertical integration he's talking about, right? And of course, Glass-Steagall ends that. You can't be, if you're a bank, you can't provide financial services and then provide the products that you advise people to buy, right? You can't do that. So he's singling out vertical integration. And then he went on to say, quote, "A second very important one is whether there should be a structural separation between traditional banking activities and the more risky investment activities." He went on to say, "Banks benefit from the implicit guarantee on their deposit liabilities which flow into their trading activities." So what he's talking about there is what some people in Australia call horizontal integration, but that just means what Glass-Steagall is very fundamentally about, separating traditional banking from investment banking, right? So he's endorsing the separation, both types of separation. That's what the bill that Bob Katter introduced does, right? So we've got someone of his ilk endorsing that. Now, I'm making a big deal about him endorsing it. He's just one Australian name, but as you know, he joins some very prominent people around the world who also endorse it for the same reason, right? He's just one of the more prominent people in Australia to come out for this. So what the Greens announcement has achieved is expanded the debate. And very usefully, I'll be in Canberra next week talking to members of Parliament, and the timing is very useful because now the more people come on board and expand it, this puts the onus on the two major parties, Labor and Liberal, and that's where our mobilisation comes in. So to regular viewers of the CEC report, as you know, we want you to be involved in this. If you haven't contacted your Member of Parliament, demand they support Bob Katter's bill, do so. If you already have done so, do so more. Keep the pressure on them because although the Greens have made this announcement, they don't have a bill. The bill in Parliament is Bob Katter's bill, right? And with this kind of momentum, I fail to, the banks are going to do everything in their power to try and stop it, but they don't have absolute power. They're not all powerful, right? And this is going really well. But it's because of people like you, the viewer, who's involved in this campaign. So let's take a break. When we come back, Jeremy can do most of the talking.
Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetark.org.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
Come on, fellas. Let's get down there.
Hang on. Where's Dave?
Oh, hey, fellas. What do you think? Pretty cool, eh?
Real men look out for each other. Don't let your mates drink and drown.
Welcome back to the CEC Report. Stop being willful victims of drought and high electricity prices. There are clear solutions. So Jeremy, let's deal with these two issues in order. We'll start with the drought first because there's a real emphasis on it at the moment because it is a big deal. Apparently all of New South Wales has effectively been drought declared and a lot of Queensland is drought declared. So let's talk about actual solutions to this, right? And we want to discuss one short-term one and then some long-term solutions. The first, what is the first thing that the government can do short-term to give these farmers some relief?
We need legislation to deal with the banking side of things, to have a debt moratorium. At the end of the day, these farmers can't continue to be viable if they're going to be foreclosed on by the banks or if the interest charges are just going to put them further and further into debt that they'll never be able to pay off. You can't get blood out of a stone.
The crippling debt is the huge problem out there.
Yeah, so the government is actually already guaranteed the banks in the global financial crisis. So, you know, why can't they guarantee the sustainability of our farming? I mean, this provides our food. It's more important than just about anything. I mean, if you don't eat, you don't survive.
Yeah, when it came to the banks surviving, the free market rules went out the window. And this is a strategic industry, and the government should make sure it survives. And get rid of the biggest burden on them straight away. Not saying cancel it all, right? But just alleviate the payment problem, the burden, and until they can get back on their feet. All right, long-term solutions though, and. In a word, it comes down to infrastructure.
Exactly right.
There doesn't have to be this lack of water out there. So let's talk about some projects. The first one is the Bradfield scheme. How would that work?
Well, that was designed by Bradfield, who designed the Sydney Harbour Bridge, a great engineer. It uses the water up in North Queensland. The rivers are Herbert, Tully, Burdekin rivers that normally would just flow out into the Coral Sea out in the Pacific Ocean. You divert them over the Great Dividing Range inland, and eventually they would flow all the way into Lake Eyre. A series of dams and tunnels could generate hydroelectricity, provide enormous agricultural water.
And it irrigates all the way through.
Irrigates all the way through, exactly. Yeah.
All right, we've got Bob. The other day, Bob Catter was on Triple M, I think, being interviewed about this. Now, Bob Catter, Member of Parliament, is a great champion of the Bradfield scheme. It's his part of his neck of the woods. We agree. This is another thing we agree with him on. Just listen to Bob Catter talking about the Bradfield scheme on Triple M the other day.
There's been so much about the drought and fundraising and everything else in the last week or so, but remember I was telling you about going up north during our week off. Went up to Cooktown and just saw some of the plumpest cattle I'll ever hope to see, some of the most wonderful pasture, and going, the rivers are enormous, the Mossman Gorge was just flowing and Barron Falls were flowing completely in the middle of winter in the dry season, and just going, we have to be like a Snowy River project, we need to get all of that water down to the the west of Queensland and New South Wales, and we solved this drought. It seems so easy, and you said you found someone who might agree with me.
Well, I found someone who's already suggesting that. He is one of our politicians, the Honourable Bob Catter. Good morning, Bob.
God bless all the listeners.
Hey, Bob, you've already thought of this idea. Where is it at?
He's a bit smart, old Bradfield. He built the Sydney Harbour Bridge. He built the water supply for Sydney, which they're still using.
He built the Story Bridge too, Bob. Yeah,
Story Bridge. He found out that when Lake Torrens, it's a huge lake, almost right in the centre of Australia, when it filled up with water, one freak wet season, the rainfall increased 2.5 inches. So he said, well, let's fill Lake Eyre, which is below sea level, from the giant rivers of North Queensland to turn the giant rivers up here where they run all the time and we have 100, 200 inch rainfall, dig a bit of a hole through the range and turn the top of that river back inland. And you can take the water all the way down to Lake Eyre.
Has the science been done on this, Bob? Has somebody actually sat down and charted it and gone, this can be done?
Oh, yes, numerous times. It has been done and redone and redone. We sort of had a look at the Bradfield scheme. We said, no, you want to fill Lake Eyre, you do that with a ditch coming up from Spencer Gulf. So that will make it rain. And, they've done a lot of work on this, even over recent years, like about 6 or 7 years ago. They said it wouldn't work. Well, there's twice as much water that runs down the Murray-Darling, precipitates off this lake, so it's got to go somewhere. Put simply, you fill a lake below sea level in the middle of Australia, and the prevailing winds take it up against the inside of the Great Dividing Range. And You take the northern rivers and turn a little tiny bit at the top. When you put those little tiny bits together, it's bloody lot of water. And you turn that out onto the great inland plain.
And the drought's solved.
It's not a bad idea, Marto.
You've done it, and we've got the refugees coming over here, the infrastructure. It's a wonderful idea, Bob.
He's done it. Member for Kennedy, Bob Catter. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Bob. Thanks for calling through.
God bless all the listeners.
All right, now, Jeremy, there's another North Queensland project, the Reed scheme. Just describe that very briefly.
Well, you've got the rivers that go out into the Gulf of Carpentaria, which you can build a big canal all the way along, tapping off some of the floodwaters of those rivers and divert them all the way through, which would end up flowing through to Lake Eyre once again.
And that's a principle here. There's an excess of water in some places. You're just tapping into that excess.
Yeah, you're not taking the entire flow. You're just taking some of the floodwaters, and it accumulates to several different rivers that you're crossing, and it end up flowing all the way through to Lake Eyre. And really, a lot of this water would end up evaporating again, falling back down as rain. So certainly it can do no harm and probably a lot of good.
All right, now, final project is the Clarence scheme, because this one would be really beneficial to New South Wales right now. We'll put the map on the Bureau of Meteorology map on the screen, where you see the areas marked in drought. We've overlaid with it where these areas that would be improved by these projects. So how would the Clarence River scheme work?
Similarly, you're taking the water on one side of the Great Dividing Range and sending it over. Now, there's two different ways, and you can do both. You can tunnel.
This is in northern New South Wales, though.
That's right. Yeah. You can tunnel through to the Great Dividing Range mountains, or you can pump it over. The beauty about pumping it over is you can use that excess energy overnight, where you've got the power stations, particularly the coal-fired power stations that got to run 24 hours a day. You can use that power in the middle of the night, pump it up there, and then when you do have peak demand, you can generate hydroelectricity as it flows down the other side, and that water would end up going all the way through to the Murray-Darling system in the Clarence River scheme. That would be on the scale of the Snowy Mountain scheme, so it's a massive project.
And it puts at least an extra 1,000 gigalitres into what is ultimately the Murray-Darling Basin, right? But for the use of the farmers in New South Wales that are affected by drought right now. The late great Professor Lance Endersby did a lot of work on that particular project. Viewers can get copies of this in a special report we've put out that you can call in and get a copy of, called The Infrastructure Road to Recovery. We've got to take a break.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Sport is for everyone.
No matter who you are or where you're from.
There's no place for discrimination in sport.
And everyone should feel welcome, safe,
respected and get a fair go.
Whether you're a player, a spectator, a coach or an official.
What do you want from your sport?
Are you ready to make a difference? Sport is for everyone.
And everyone starts with you.
Keep your sport inclusive,
safe, fair and fun.
For more information, go to playbytherules.net.au.
Would your life be different if you chose to swim between the flags instead of that unpatrolled beach? If you'd checked the depth before you dived into shallow water? If you didn't swim under the influence of alcohol and chose not to swim at night? If you only listened to the lifesavers warnings?
Make the right choice this summer. Enjoy our beautiful beaches. Always swim between the red and yellow flags.
If we can't see you, we can't save you.
I had the boys over for a barbecue the day before our final. Anyway, Steve rocks up, no beer, and he brought his model girlfriend. He was showing off, going on about how we kicked the winning goal in the semis, you know. I must have gotten a bit distracted and I put his steak on the same plate the raw meat had been on. Anyway, we lost the final. Steve had to go off sick during the game. I mean, it's not my fault. I mean, who brings their girlfriend to a bloke's barbie anyway?
Welcome back to the CEC Report, where we're discussing real solutions to drought and electricity prices. So, Jeremy, on to electricity prices. The question is, as you posed in an article in the Australian Alert Service this week, which people can call in and get a copy of as well, Jeremy has 2 articles on this subject. So if you want to know more, you can get a copy of the Infrastructure Road to Recovery and this week's Alert Service. How stupid are we when it comes to electricity prices? Tony Abbott has said he's recently put all the blame on renewables. Is he right, or is there something else going on?
Well, the privatisation plays a big role. And
that's what he never says.
Of course. And the national competition policy, which forces the breakup, or already has forced the breakup, of the retail from the generation, from the distribution parts of the power, so that all these government-owned corporations are effectively run like private corporates. And the CEOs are on multi-millions. There's advertising, marketing costs. You're bombarded with ads, telemarketers. All this adds to your bill. So that is insane. So sure, the green energy is expensive, and that's true, but the privatisation is a big part.
And so if we go back to before renewable energy and before privatisation, that's how far you got to go back to when we actually genuinely had cheap electricity in Australia.
Well, back then, we had the hydro schemes, which is the best renewable that we do have, is the hydroelectricity, because you do have enormous energy flux density where you've got hundreds of metres of head of water forcing these turbines around, much more than a little bit of puff of wind with the wind turbines, and guaranteed all the time. Whenever you turn it on, you'll get hydroelectricity. And we had power that was a fraction of the price with the Tasmanian Hydro, the Snowy Mountain scheme. And if we had nuclear power in Australia, which we're not even using, there's enormous potential to have cheap power.
Well, let's talk about the stupidity, starting with coal. What are we doing with coal that's so stupid?
Well, we're sending far more coal overseas than we're burning ourselves, selling it off billions and billions of dollars overseas for other countries to burn. Meanwhile, we're shutting down our coal-fired power stations. So global emissions will keep growing anyway, no matter what we do. It's insane. The same with uranium. We're selling off uranium overseas, but we have a ban on its use here.
And uranium use overseas, nuclear, as you took issue with a Labor Member of Parliament on this, Mark Dreyfus, nuclear power plants are increasing around the world.
Well, the capacity is dramatically expanding now with China's particular growth. There's dozens and dozens of plants popping up all over the place.
But even in Japan, where the big scare was and they shut them down, but you're saying they're bringing them back.
Yeah, definitely. They've already opened several, and they've got several that are planned to be constructed. So they've just announced, the Japanese government's just announced in their energy plan that they do want to generate a very substantial amount of electricity from nuclear power. So that's coming back in Japan.
And if the concern is climate change, if they're that type of person, that is emissions-free energy. We provide the uranium, but we don't let ourselves use it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, we need a complete change. We need to get out of the Paris Agreement, which is insane. We need to stop this tokenism of green policies, which are not even benefiting the environment anyway. I mean, if you look at the areas around our coal-fired power stations, the air is cleaner there, according to the EPA, the air is cleaner there than in Melbourne or Sydney, where all the vehicle emissions are more relevant.
And as you said in your article, we need to go back to a public ownership model where these things are not run for profit to gouge us all. Anyway, thanks, Jeremy, for joining us and for those
Robbie.
insights. Call in and get a copy of these reports. As I said, thanks for watching the CEC Report.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe and warm? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Okay, Sarah, I'm going to order some pathology tests to see how everything's going.
Half the Australian population had a pathology test last year. That's you or someone you love. 100 tests are performed every minute, delivering vital medical information. From the moment you are born, your healthcare depends on pathology tests. 70% of medical decisions rely on information from pathology tests. Pathology is the engine room of healthcare. One small sample can reveal millions of insights all about you. Pathologists are your doctor's doctor. 25,000 people work to provide doctors with the answers they need to treat you. Australian pathology is world class. We may never meet you, but we see each of you as part of our family. Every minute, 23 Australians find out more about their health.
Good news, Sarah. The results show that everything's okay.
Pathology provides peace of mind.
I rely on Australian pathology.
Sign up online to support Australian pathology.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash. Maybe even from heart disease. Maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Wednesday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You are welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.